before I made the decision to go to LA, years before that, I was on SoundClick. I was internet based. It was like I got thrown deep into the industry, but I'm really from the internet.
Peace, what's going down? It's DJ Payne 1 for Beatstars.com in the building with Anonxmous. This is the first time I'm meeting him, albeit electronically, but it's an honor. What's going down, sir?
Honor for me too, man. Thank you for having me. Truly, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to be here.
So you've worked with iconic artists. You've produced some huge hit singles. You've been honored with 3 Grammy nominations. Let's start there. What were the 3 Grammy nominations for?
It was for Anaconda, and then the Pink Print album, and then it was for Chris Brown's X album, and I believe it was Empire. Empire was nominated for them too. So I did work on the soundtrack for Empire too. They all came in like consecutive seasons, so it was kind of crazy.
So were you at the Grammys every single time?
No, I only went the first time because I felt that was the time to bring my dad, have everybody there, and then after that, I felt how it felt not to win, so it was like, no, we gotta win one. Like, we can't just keep going every year. So I haven't went since the first one because we gotta win one. We gotta win one if we're gonna go.
And then there's the whole like clothing budget factor.
Keep getting a suit every year, like, no. Then the tickets, no. Join the academy, yeah, that's cool. But honestly, it's a crazy thing about the Grammys that Timberland told me randomly when I was like super hyped to him in the studio when I first got the email. And he told me something that I never forget. He was like, all that is cool, but at the end, it doesn't matter. Just what you have to give to your family in your bank account is all that should matter. Like, nothing else, like, literally. So that just stayed with me. It's cool to go every year, but just remember what's important, like your family eating. Like, that's important.
Wise words. We'll pick up on that later. But you mentioned Anaconda, obviously. That's a huge hit. Maybe your biggest hit single, would you say?
I'd say so, yeah.
So how did you end up in contact with Nicki Minaj to the point where you actually tailor-made that beat for her and got it to her?
It was actually through one of my other mentors, Polo the Don. I was in Miami, and he was in Orlando, I believe, at Johnny Wright's compound. He has like a studio there where like NSYNC had stayed, all of them and stuff like that. So he hit me. He said he was been texting with Nicki. And then he said to send a pack. So I was in Miami, I cooked up, and I was with a friend, and it was like it was weird. It was like a coincidence kind of, but her phone played on Pandora, Sir Mix-a-Lot. And it was just like, I just thought to myself, no one's ever done this. As a new flip, at least. And Nicki Minaj kind of represents this in human form right now. So that's when I did the beat, which I don't think people have ever heard the original, but it was more kind of extravagant and produced up, but it ended up being what it is, but I love it.
Who ended up changing the beat so that it was a little less, I don't want to say overproduced because I didn't hear it, but... It
was the interns. I guess Nicki had called them in, I believe, but I know initially the key reason, because if you heard the original version, it wouldn't have been able to be played on the radio at all. Like, there's no way a clean version could have cleaned it up, none of that. So I feel like they kind of called them in to give that expertise on radio hits that reach the edge of like what you can shake your butt to you can still play it on the radio. So I got it. So the interns, yeah. Polo was the one that originally got the beat to Nicki. And then she texts back like, everybody here in the studio is going crazy. This is going to be the single. So that's originally how it happened.
So to pick up on the topic of Sir Mix-a-Lot, so there was a DJ Vlad interview in which Sir Mix-a-Lot, who sampled for Anaconda, explained that he's basically been living off of and making a great living off of publishing from that record that was released decades ago. And obviously you're a part of that now, having produced a Grammy nominated single sampling that record. Given that he's a hip hop artist and obviously, you know, you didn't deal with clearing the sample, but because he's a hip hop artist, he respects hip hop. He's a part of the culture. Sampling is a part of the culture. Do you know how the sample clearance process was with him? He's, generally we sample a soul record from the 70s that predates sample culture, but he was right in it.
Just from my knowledge of the industry and how easily it went about and how openly he's spoken about it, I think just with him understanding where Nicki was at in her career and seeing it as an overall win and knowing he'd get his percentage and always be looked out for, I was happy. Like, I was lucky, because sometimes it doesn't go that way, and then there's a whole fallout, and then there's a whole another side. So I felt like for everybody to get their portion and get to eat was all I wanted. That was fine by me.
Okay, so in other words, those watching who have never sampled and placed the record with a major label, what Anonxmous is saying is that Sir Mix-a-Lot didn't come and snatch all the publishing.
Exactly. Basically, in a nutshell.
Okay, that's good news. I think that was what I was curious about. Now that's what I call music. We're all familiar with those compilations. They sell them on TV all the time, or maybe I don't watch TV anymore, but they used to. They're very popular, very financially successful. This is fascinating to me. So your song with Nicki was such a major hit that it ended up on one of these compilations, correct?
Yeah, that was incredible. Blew my mind, because I remember watching the infomercials every night. Like, it was brainwashed into me. Like, but I've never purchased one, so to look and see that, it was just like an assurance. Like, you just have to keep going at the end of the day, because crazy things happen. You just keep going.
So to get on that compilation, obviously they had to license the record. Were you a part of that licensing process, or did you just get a check?
Yeah, you had to. Usually, actually, with that one, I didn't have to give any clearance for that one. I guess they just put it on there for some reason. But usually when it has to go on TV or anything else, we have to give our clearance and email. They just ask us, do we clear it for this specific thing? That one, I didn't have any real knowledge of it going on there. I actually saw it on the internet. I just looked up my credits for some reason. I saw it on there. I was like, and there's like some crazy ones, like Spanish versions of it and stuff like that. I was like, I don't know. It gets interesting to where I'm still learning, even as that was one of my first placements. So I'm still learning. You know what I mean? I'm not like a decades in veteran. I'm still in my 20s. So.
Did you have to, rub it in. Did you have to do some some investigative work? And
forever young. All forever.
Did you have to do some investigative work on all of those iterations of Anaconda with the compilation to see, where the money was going, how you could, get your piece of it?
No, the only reason why is because I've been with Universal since 2011, so they kind of look out and look for all of that before I even have to look for it.
Oh, so you just saw it on your statements then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about that. So you're signed to Universal Publishing. What led you to signing that deal? I didn't realize it went as far back as 2011.
It was literally a split decision by me and one of my best friends, who's a songwriter now. And we were in Atlanta, and I was working at the Cheesecake Factory. And I was at the Art Institute. And we literally were like, this is not going to where we want it to go at all. So we have to leave or do something, because it's feeling like we're in a box. It's not the move. So we literally scrounged up the money for 2 one-way standby flights the next day to LA. And then a CD I had made. This is how randomly things line up for us all, I feel. So a CD I made in Atlanta, I gave to a girl who was an intern for another producer. It got to Polo, so I went on Twitter while in LA. When we had nowhere to stay, we were at my boy's house with his family for the days we landed and all of that, to try to get something situated. I don't know what we thought we were gonna get situated, but so I tweet him, and then he's like, oh, we've been listening to that CD the whole week. Come to the studio. And so we're like, okay, what's the address? Because we're like, wow, like, all right, come, where's the studio? We get no address. Mind you, we had to leave where we were staying. So we sat in the car for about the whole day till sundown, studio hours, till about after 11:30, 12, midnight. Then he sent us an address. We went to a record plant in LA, and then we never left. So then about a week into that, I met with Ethiopia from Universal, and then we did our deal. So it was literally a week from being at work and not having a clue how you would take your production to the next level, but knowing you had to get out of that situation.
So the Universal deal quite literally saved your life out in LA.
Literally.
So you're happy with your situation there?
Yeah, because I feel like there's ways to play it. Like, it's obviously like any other business venture, any other business thing. You just have to know what you're getting into, know how your advantages can play, know what they want from you, know how it works. Because at the end of the day, it's all just business. So just handle your business the right way, and then you'll be good. So in the end, you end up good. That's all.
So you alluded earlier to one of your other legendary mentors, Timberland, and many of us have seen his Breakfast Club interview where he shouts you out as a team member. And I believe that was back in 2015. So what did or does being a part of Team Timberland involve, and what has it taught you as a producer?
Basically, it's like a collective of minds that just come together and create the craziest things they can think of together. And I was proud to be a part of it, and proud to be a part of it, because it was like somebody I looked up to that has noticed the things you've worked hard to improve on and learn from them. So it's kind of mind-blowing. But to be a part of it, it basically means to just bring minds together and just create. So that was even more of the fun of it. It was no like pressure or like even paperwork behind it.
What would you say, aside from the lesson that you shared earlier, what was another important lesson that you learned just being taken under his wing?
At the end of the day, no matter what happens or who does this to you, just stay within your box of happiness. You know what I'm saying? Don't let anyone make you do anything because of how they treat you, so to say, in the music industry, so to speak.
I've noticed quite a bit, especially among producers, there's like this cycle of abuse. We come in the game, we get abused by whether it's another producer or a recording artist or a publisher or a label, and then we turn around and either, we quit, we maintain our happiness and treat others according to the golden rule, or we just kind of become monsters and perpetuate that cycle of abuse. So that's a real thing that happens in this game.
Definitely. I've witnessed it time and time again. That's what even motivates me to even speak more. It's like no one wants to like say anything. So yeah, it definitely is. I feel like it's dying down more now, honestly, with the uprise of the internet and producers being able to stand together. You can't really do the same trickery you can do, let's say, 8 years, 9 years ago in the industry, because it's a more social environment. You can't. It's almost like we need a union, but it's almost like a self-formed union to where you can't really get away with that anymore. So that's good.
So you're saying because producers now are so interconnected and many of them are financially successful outside of the industry, that once they get into the industry, there's more of a free flow of information and less chance of this abusive cycle. Definitely.
And even outside of the industry, because you can build something worth anything you want without the industry, and they're going to come running. So it's like you'll always be able to do business with them. You'll always be able to do whatever, but just build your own brand. Is the best way. Because why wait to get with them and build your brand so they can take whatever because they helped you build your brand? But they don't even want that anymore. They want you already built. So you might as well build your brand and move it.
I'm glad you said that. It's interesting because I'm sure many people see your resume, see all that you've accomplished, see your experiences with Polo the Don and Timberland, and think, why would he create a beat catalog on Beatstars.com and license his beats to the general public. So what motivated you to make that transition?
Honestly, it's just going back to what made me love music. Like, before I made the decision to go to LA, years before that, I was on SoundClick. I was internet based because I was a kid. I was like, I have to find a way to get my music out or get better VSTs or anything like that. The internet was my source. Just like how I even reached Polo was my Twitter. I was like, I'm going to tweet him. Like, I'm the one that made that CD that girl gave you. He could have not ever seen that, but us internet kids, we know how to get it done on the internet. So he saw that tweet somehow out of whatever 1,000 followers he had. So essentially, because that's where I started. So it was like I got thrown deep into the industry, but I'm really from the internet.
Okay, so let's go back to your resume. You also have an IMDB profile, and there's some pretty high-profile film and television show titles on that list. Are a lot of those Anaconda sync deals, or is that something else?
Yeah, some are Anaconda, and then, of course, Empire, and then The Star is another show on Fox by the same maker as Empire, I believe. And then I believe... I haven't even looked at all of them, but a good amount are either Empire, Star, or Anaconda.
In terms of your work with Empire and Star, how did that differ from just your general work within the industry, working directly with artists?
I think the process was more creative because we didn't have to cater it, let's say, towards a specific artist's whole brand or what they can't do or how they can't sound. So it was more of a free flow, almost like a scoring of the movie because we had scenes to go off of. They played us the first pilot and things like that. So we had a whole mood and things like that. So that's how it differed. It was more.
And you said we, so it was a team effort?
It was Team Timbo, basically.
Oh, okay. That was a Timberland project. Got it.
That was one of the first things we worked on, the Empire soundtrack.
So going back to what you said about catering specifically to artists, I listened to the Chris Brown record, and it's very different from Anaconda. Very different, almost acoustic. What was the process of creating that particular beat?
Well, initially I started it laying in my bed, like it was like I was laying next to my ex, and I was on my laptop, and then I had a fake VST guitar doing the lines and all that. And then I called my boy Tremaine, who I already knew was an amazing guitarist. So I said, can you just do your magic with these little guitar ideas? And then I put that with the beat. And then I saw Chris when he had his girlfriend threw a coming from a prison party that people probably saw on the internet. But I saw him there. He was like, bro, I know you have something for me. And that was one of the things I sent, and that was the only thing that he got on the album because he said it was closing and they needed the information right away, all of that. So that was literally the last song they added.
This is the same Tremaine who plays guitar and also sings and sometimes sings in Korean?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, we have a friend in common. All right. Shout out to Tremaine.
Yep. Tremaine, man, always comes through. Like, certain people don't know this, but in those situations, certain producers may like to give an instrumentalist, like, let's say, a fee and then just send them off. But me and Tremaine have such a relationship. I gave him 11% because it's like, you really put in on this track, you know what I'm saying? That's how I feel the standard needs to be, bro. Once we all do right by each other, no one loses. That's how
Yeah, that's something I would like to have a much fuller conversation about, the session player factor, because it's a different world. You know, we producers think we get used and exploited in this game, but session players, songwriters, that kind of thing, it's rough for them too. Last question: where can people browse through your online catalog if they want to check out your beats, if they want to connect with you on social media? How do they do that?
On Instagram, you can just type in World Changer with no spaces, no nothing. And then on Beatstars, Anonymous with an X instead of a Y in the middle, .beatstars.com. And then, of course, Twitter, Anonymous1.
All right. Once again, appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences, your wisdom and insight with us.
Man, thank you for having me, man. Truly.